My boss was a total nightmare who thought he was untouchable. I worked as a senior sales manager for a tech company, and I had just closed a massive deal worth $500,000. According to my contract, I was supposed to get a 10% commission. That's $50,000. But when payday came, my bonus was exactly zero. I went to my boss's office, and he literally laughed in my face. He told me that he decided to change the commission structure yesterday, and since I hadn't signed the new agreement yet, I got nothing. He then told me to get out of his office and be grateful I still have a job. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I just went back to my desk and remembered one very important thing. The client I closed the deal with was an old friend from college. They only signed with us because they trusted me personally. I called my friend and explained the situation. He was furious. He told me, if they aren't paying you, I'm not paying them. He checked the contract and found a 48-hour buyer's remorse clause that allowed him to cancel the deal for any reason. I waited until the very last hour of the deadline. My boss was already bragging to the CEO about the massive profit he brought in. That's when the email hit his inbox. The client was pulling out. The deal was dead. The company lost $500,000 in a heartbeat. The CEO went nuclear. When they investigated why the client left, my friend told them exactly what happened and sent the recording of my boss laughing at me. My boss was fired on the spot and escorted out by security. The best part, the CEO called me the next day, offered me his job, and gave me the full commission just to bring the client back. Greedy people always pay double in the end. My neighbor, Karen, is the president of our local homeowners association and she acts like she owns the entire street. Last month, she decided my backyard fence was 1 inch too high, according to some ancient rule she found. She gave me 48 hours to tear it down, or she'd fine me $100 every single day. I tried to explain that the fence had been there for 10 years, but she just smirked and said, "Rules are rules, sweetie. Move it, or pay up." I was furious, but instead of arguing, I hired a professional land surveyor. I had a feeling about where the property lines actually were. When the surveyor finished, he started laughing. It turns out, not only was my fence perfectly legal, but Karen's entire $30,000 luxury driveway and her expensive brick mailbox were actually built on my land by about 3 feet. She had been stealing my property for years without knowing it. I didn't say a word to her. I just sent a formal letter from my lawyer to the WA board and Karen. I told her that rules are rules, and gave her exactly 48 hours to remove her driveway from my property. If she didn't, I told her I would hire a bulldozer to do it for her and send her the bill. She came to my door crying and screaming, begging for a compromise. I just pointed at my fence and said, 1 inch too high, remember? In the end, she had to pay me $15,000 just to keep her driveway where it was, and she resigned from the board in total embarrassment. Don't play games with people who know how to read a map. I worked as a waitress in a high-end steakhouse to pay for my college tuition. One night, a regular customer, who was a billionaire tech founder, came in with a group of friends. They were great guests, and at the end of the night, he left me a massive $2,000 tip on a $1,000 bill. I was crying tears of joy because that money meant I could finally pay off my next semester. But when my manager saw the receipt, his eyes turned into dollar signs. He told me, actually, the house policy just changed. Any tip over 20% now belongs to the restaurant to cover administrative costs. You get $200, and the rest stays with us. I was devastated. I knew there was no such policy, but he threatened to fire me if I argued. I realized I couldn't fight him, but I knew who could. The next week, the same billionaire came back. He asked me, "Hey, did that tip help you out with school?" I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "I only got $200 of it." The manager said the rest was for administrative costs. The billionaire's face went from friendly to ice cold in a second. He asked to see the manager immediately. When the manager arrived, acting all fake and polite, the billionaire said, "I heard about your new policy. Since you like administrative costs so much, let's talk about mine." He then revealed that his company owned the entire building the restaurant was in. He told the manager, "I'm increasing your rent by $5,000 a month starting today, or you can give my waitress her full tip right now and resign." The manager turned white as a sheet. He handed me $1,800 in cash from the safe and quit on the spot. The billionaire then looked at me and said, "Next time, I'll just give you the cash under the table." My father was a wealthy man who spent his whole life building a construction empire. When he passed away unexpectedly, my stepmother, Sarah, showed her true colors within minutes. She had only been married to him for 2 years, but she immediately kicked me out of the family mansion, claiming everything was now hers. She even sold my late mother's jewelry and told me I was nothing but a spoiled brat who didn't deserve a cent. She thought she had found a golden ticket to a life of luxury. What Sarah didn't know was that my father wasn't stupid. He knew exactly who she was. A week after the funeral, I met with my father's lawyer for the reading of the private will. Sarah showed up in a designer dress, already planning how to spend the millions. The lawyer started reading, "To my wife, Sarah, I leave the beach house and the luxury cars." Sarah smirked at me, but then the lawyer continued, "On the condition that she remains married to me. Since death has dissolved the marriage, this clause activates the secondary instruction." The lawyer's voice went cold. Because Sarah initiated a secret divorce filing 3 months ago to try and get a settlement, which my father discovered, she is officially disqualified from the entire inheritance. Sarah's face turned gray. The lawyer handed me a folder and said, "Everything, the company, the mansion, the offshore accounts, it all goes to my son. And Sarah, you have 24 hours to vacate the property before we involve the police." I looked at her and said, "I guess you're the one who's spoiled now." She left with nothing but the clothes on her back. I worked as a software engineer for a large firm. I developed a script that automated 90% of my department's workload. It was a masterpiece. But my manager, Steve, was a snake. He stole my code, presented it to the board as his own, and got a $20,000 bonus. When I confronted him, he laughed and said, "I'm the manager, so everything you build belongs to me. Now get back to work, you lazy brat, or you're fired." What Steve didn't realize was that I had built a kill switch into the code. Not because I was malicious, but because the script needed regular security updates that only I knew how to perform. A month later, I quit my job and moved to a better company. Exactly 1 week after I left, the script stopped working. The entire department's production came to a crashing halt. The CEO called me, begging me to come back and fix it. I told him the truth. Steve claimed he built it, so Steve should know how to fix it. When Steve tried to touch the code, he accidentally deleted the entire database because he had no idea what he was doing. The company lost $100,000 in a single day. The CEO was furious. He fired Steve for fraud and incompetence. Then, he offered me a contract as a consultant to fix the mess. I charged them $150 an hour, which was triple my old salary. Steve is now working at a fast food joint, and I paid for my new car with the money they paid me to fix his mistake.